Number 32, learn to sacrifice short-term gratification in exchange for long-term success. Learn to consciously exchange short-term gratification for long-term success. You know, there are studies that track kids who are able to delay gratification through life, and they find out later in life that they're more successful, more socially well-adjusted, and so forth. And I think that learning the ability to delay gratification is an important skill to learn. But once you've learned to just delay gratification, see something you want and go, you know what, wait, I'm not going to do that yet because I'm training myself to delay gratification. That just teaches you the skill. Where the power really comes from is when you start doing it strategically, where you say, for the next year, I'm not going to take the short-term gratification because doing that for a year is going to give me this long-term success. As I stand here and I speak to you, the last year of my own life, I have sacrificed a lot of short-term gratification in a lot of areas of my life, and I've done it consciously. This may sound a little bit hypocritical, but this has probably been the least of what I think objectively a lot of people would think if they looked at my life, the least successful dating year of my adult life. What's going on there? Well, late last year, things started to really click in helping guys be successful with women in dating. A lot of the things that I was working on really started to go. People responded very positively to my book, and I started releasing other things, and my interviews started to go well, and I started to attract other people and businesses, and I said, wow, look at this. This is so cool that this is happening. And I thought about it, and I thought, okay, what am I really getting right now? I'm not in a relationship. The women that I'm meeting, for whatever reason, are not long-term relationship material. I'm not really connecting with someone that I want to have a relationship with. I'm not any more likely to find one next week than I am with the ones that I have right now, the women I've met and dated. What would it be like if I said, I'm going to actually not date very many women for the next year or so, and I'm going to take all this opportunity that's coming my way, and I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on building a little bit more of a fortress for myself. As my business started to do better, I had more options financially. Okay, I looked around and I thought, maybe I should move to a nicer place. Maybe I should, get a new car instead of driving a, 13-year-old car that I've had for 7 or 8 years. And maybe I should pimp my life. But I looked at it and I said, well, you know what? That's the temptation right now. I could go do that. Or, with all this opportunity coming to me right now, and it's all kind of coalescing, it's all gelling, I could put my head down, stay where I'm at, keep everything the same, and put my dating success off for a while, and just work this puppy. Put my nose to the grindstone and make a lot of success happen. And the irony of the whole thing is that by doing that, that's what I chose to do. Okay, I've been working very hard the last year, spending most of my time on kind of making new products and synthesizing my ideas and building relationships with, new thinkers and new guest speakers and all this kind of stuff, getting new people to work with me. I've created a level of success that would have taken me, I don't even know, but probably 5 or 10 times as long had I said, you know what, let me just kind of chill out right now, start dating more women, get a little, kind of more upscale lifestyle, start spending money and whatever. And even more importantly, I taught myself that I could do it. Okay, when the even bigger piece of candy was sitting right there and I could have just picked it up and stuffed it in my mouth, I went, let's put that one back a little ways so that when I get to it, it'll be a really, really big piece of candy. It's really worked for me. It's really worked. And I think when you get to the point in your life when instead of just saying, I'm going to delay gratification, but you have a strategic long-term plan, and you're delaying different types of gratification in the service of a longer-term goal, that's when you really make yourself powerful. Number 33. Learn how to always enjoy yourself no matter what's happening around you. Learn how to always enjoy yourself no matter what's happening. The more you take responsibility, as my friend Richard says, he says, you are responsible for generating your own experience of reality. You are responsible for generating your own experience of reality. When you think about that one for a while, you think, okay, what does that mean? Well, I'm having an experience, and that's kind of disconnected from reality. There may be some cause-effect relationships that I've set up or that have kind of gotten wired up. But as part of it, I'm generating this. That feels like you're taking the power back and you can control it. And when I say I'm responsible for it, wow. And what if you said enjoyment, or the process of having joy at all times? It's like contentment with a positive spin on it. It's possible no matter what's happening around me. Then you go to work to figure out how, during the times that you find distasteful, you can see a way to have joy. So learn how to always enjoy yourself no matter what's happening. 34. Value yourself and your time more than any woman. Value yourself and your time more than any woman. What does it mean to value something? It means to assign priority to it in your mind, of worth of some kind, and equate it with other things. Well, I'll suggest to you that when you value yourself and you value your time more than any woman, you'll become much more attractive to women. And as you start to attract higher and higher quality women, they will actually respect this quality about you more and more and more. If you really drive this point home and you really cultivate a lot of self-respect and you don't tolerate any disrespect of yourself or your time, you'll find that that will give you the ability to maintain attraction with those amazing women that seem untouchable for as long as you want. "34. Value yourself and your time more than any woman. Value yourself and your time more than any woman." What does it mean to value something? It means to assign priority to it in your mind, of worth of some kind, and equate it with other things. Well, I'll suggest to you that when you value yourself and you value your time more than any woman, you'll become much more attractive to women. And as you start to attract higher and higher quality women, they will actually respect this quality about you more and more and more. If you really drive this point home and you really cultivate a lot of self-respect and you don't tolerate any disrespect of yourself or your time, you'll find that that will give you the ability to maintain attraction with those amazing women that seem untouchable for as long as you want. "35. Develop your awareness. Develop your awareness. How can you develop awareness? Well, a lot of us guys, we live way in our heads, and we are not aware of what's going on in our bodies or around us. Do this right now. Notice everything you can see all the way to the edges of your peripheral vision. Would you like to know how to see behind you without turning your head? Lean down a little bit and notice that you can now see behind you. Interesting, huh? You can use your peripheral vision to see behind you without turning your head. One of the things that I do now, as a habit, is whenever I'm about to enter any intersection in my car, any intersection anywhere, no matter how fast I'm driving or whether the light's green or whatever, I look straight ahead and I kind of take my foot off the gas, and whatever's happening, if I'm in a conversation or something, kind of just tune out of that a little bit, and I open up my peripheral vision and I become aware of what's going on in that intersection. Is anyone coming? Is anyone trying to walk out into it, drive through the light? Why do I do that? Because I keep hearing stories of people that are killed in intersections because they were the first one to drive out into the intersection and some jackass was trying to, bust it through the yellow light, and they're driving a big 6,000-pound SUV and they T-bone them and kill them. And I'd much rather have done that and been aware the thing was coming so I could slam on the brakes and have them shave off the front of my car or drive around them or run into them than I would be in the hospital in complete traction, paralyzed, and only be able to move my eye and be thinking, that bastard! Develop your awareness. 36. Learn to control your emotions. Learn to control your emotions. Our emotions are miracles. I mean, when you really start studying emotions, not that I'm any, academic expert on the topic, but when you really start getting into what emotions are and how they work, they are miraculous. They're incredible. They control motivation. They allow us to exponentially increase our intuitive abilities, our learning ability. But what are emotions when it really comes down to it? They're chemicals. They're drugs. My mentor, who's no longer alive, Jerry Ballinger, he used to say that emotions are the most addictive chemicals in the universe. Addictive chemicals. Ever meet an emotion junkie? What if an emotion like anger was as addictive as crack cocaine? What would the person who experiences strong anger on a regular basis do on a regular basis? They'd engineer situations that allowed them to feel strong anger. Why? So that they could mentally justify it and so they could get their hit of anger. People that feel strong emotions tend to hate this. They respond very negatively to it. And they go, controlling my emotions, that's wrong. I'd be being bad if I did that. It's not healthy. When you learn to control your emotions, when you take responsibility for your emotions and generating your experience, and you cultivate that pause between stimulus and response, that's when things start to become very interesting. When you're out of control of your emotions, women can sense this, and they push those buttons. You might even imagine that all men have an array of buttons on them. And for the most part, most of the buttons work about the same way. And attractive women, when they meet a man, they just walk up and they press a couple of the buttons. The man responds. And they go, oh, another puppet. Next. When you disconnect all the wires from all the buttons inside of you, and you're in control, and she walks up and she starts pressing the buttons, she goes, there's something very different about you. And mysteriously, I feel like I need to sleep with you to figure out what it is. Number 37. Become unbelievably honest, authentic, and blunt when it is time to be direct. Become unbelievably honest, authentic, and blunt when it's time to be direct. I submit to you that the more direct and blunt and honest and authentic you become, the more people will like you, respect you, want to be around you, hold you up as a high status person, and the more women will be attracted to you, will feel comfortable around you, will respect you more. I have been working on this one for years and years and years, and many very successful people talk about this. I mentioned Jack Welch earlier, who wrote the book Winning. I actually got to see him speak on stage earlier this year. His message is just, you've got to be candid. You've got to be real straight with people all the time. Tell them where they stand. Tell them what they're doing right, wrong. It's not in their best interest or yours that you don't. People are very resilient. They appreciate it when you're straight with them. Anytime you find yourself holding back or not being direct, kind of trying to pussyfoot around the issue, that's when you're usually losing. Moving backward. Counterproductive. All right, number 38. Learn to identify social status by communication and body language instantly. You'll see little cues as you begin to learn this stuff, like a high status person will be looking away and talking, while the lower status person is looking at them. You can look at that situation and go, that's the high status person. You'll see a man and a woman out on a date. It's obvious that they're, probably out on their first date. And the woman will be standing there with her arms crossed. And the man will be, kind of open body language and smiling and trying to communicate. And she'll be quiet, serious, standing off into the distance, staring off into the distance. Who's got the high status? The woman. Learn to identify status by communication and body language. Instantly. Look at groups of people. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Big groups. Go, who's got the status? Why? Because when you go into situations where there are group dynamics happening, and you understand healthy politics, you're going to want to get to that person and connect with them because they're going to have the most power. You're also going to want to behave like a high status person so you can influence people more, so that when you're communicating, they don't just blow you off and go, whatever. Number 39, become an expert on your own self-deception habits. Become an expert on your own self-deception habits. We all deceive ourselves and play little games with ourselves all the time. We all have blind spots that we're not aware of. We all intentionally avoid seeing things because they're too painful or we don't want to or whatever. Become an expert on your own self-deception habits. Daniel Goleman, who wrote Emotional Intelligence, wrote a book called Vital Lies, Simple Truths, you may have heard me mention. And it's all about self-deception. Of course, because he wrote it before Emotional Intelligence, it's not the famous book, although it might even be more profound. And one of the things that he says in that book is that self-deception is such a freak show. It's so kind of insidious because the process covers its own tracks. So when you look back, not only do you not see the thing that you deceived yourself about, but you don't even see the process that you used to deceive yourself. It covers its own tracks. So when you notice yourself deceiving yourself, catch it, grab that moment, and work it through. Become an expert on your own self-deception habits. You notice I keep talking about keeping a journal. This is a great place to put that stuff and to review it and write it down. Number 40, balance learning, practicing, and doing. A common theme that kind of comes up in a lot of my programs is someone will stand up and they'll say, okay, you taught this thing, but here's this logical challenge that I have with it. And I usually just say, well, you sound like someone that hasn't done this very much. Kind of a standard pat answer, but it's usually true. How do I know that? Because I have done the thing, and I know what the situation looks like, and I know that if that person would just get out there and do it a few times, that they'd have an experience of it, and it would all make sense to them. They'd get it. I also meet a lot of people who, they say, you know, I did this thing 1,000 times in a row, and it didn't work. That just can't work. It doesn't work. I say, well, have you been learning new ways to that? Have you been studying along the way? No. I just figured get out there and just do it. All execution, no theory. You need to learn, you need to balance this process of learning, practicing, and doing. Interesting phrase I heard once. Have you ever heard practice makes perfect? Practice makes perfect. So that's not true. It's perfect practice makes perfect. What's the distinction between practice and perfect practice? Putting more attention to detail, more discipline, more importance, tuning your practice, taking it seriously. Same thing with learning. So balance the three: learning, practicing, doing. And if you're running into a problem, it's probably because you're putting too much focus on one and not the others. 41. Constantly improve yourself. Constant improvement. It's an idea that I got from W. Edwards Deming and manufacturing and management. I heard a story to kind of demonstrate this. The Japanese adopted Deming's statistical techniques for manufacturing and improving manufacturing processes and management. And part of his system was constant, never-ending improvement and the reducing of variation in the results and reducing defects. And it can be demonstrated by what happened in America to the kind of auto industry in the 70s, 80s, into the 90s, as the Japanese started to just dominate. And whereas Americans would say, okay, let's figure out how to make the bolt that holds the fender on to exact specifications and the exact size, and they just focused on that one size and making it that way year after year after year, the Japanese said, okay, how do we make it the right size, but then next year we make it better, and we improve it, and we make it whatever the best size is for the improved version. And every aspect of the vehicle was better every year. And then I heard about at the Cadillac plant up in Detroit, how the guy that was running the Cadillac plant where they were building them, a consultant or someone came in and said, hey, have you ever been in one of those Lexuses that are showing up and whomping your ass and taking all your sales away? And he said, no. He said, maybe you should check that out. So they brought one to the factory, and they had his guys who build cars take the whole thing apart, and they said, wow, look at how this car just snaps together. They took it all the way apart, and they put it all the way back together. And they said, it's amazing. It's so intuitive. In our plant, nothing fits like this. We got to hammer the fender into the slot, beat it in to hold it there to get the bolt in. Different mindsets, different approaches. And you'll find that in business and in life, those that are constantly improving and always looking for a little bit better way to optimize and do things a little bit better, never locking everything down completely, always leaving a little bit of room to flex and improve, those are the ones that are dominating the world. So constantly improve yourself. Get rid of this idea that you're going to arrive somewhere and that once you're there, you're done, you've achieved it, you are the perfect person, and the rest of your life's going to be perfect because you have nothing left to improve. Ain't going to happen. Forget it. That point is called death. The ultimate improvement. Death. I don't know about that. Maybe not. 42. Stop projecting your strengths and weaknesses onto others. If you want to find your issues really fast, real fast, make a list of all of the people that you hate and the characteristics about them that you hate. And then make a list of all the people that you admire the most and all the characteristics of those people that you admire most. And then take the lists of characteristics that you have disdain for, and then take the list of all the characteristics that you really admire and hold them up in front of you and realize that you're looking at a mirror. The characteristics that you hate the most likely, are the ones that you hate the most about yourself. And the ones that you admire the most are the ones that you're not giving yourself permission to develop and shine in. So stop projecting that stuff out onto other people and take responsibility for it. Become aware of it. Number 43. Eliminate destructive or negative habits and replace them with positive, useful ones. So what is a habit? Habits are fascinating to study. Habits are patterns of thought or communication or behavior. And I like to, maybe think of a habit like a river. And the more water runs through that place in the river, the more it carves into the place where that river is, until you have things like the Grand Canyon. So let me ask you this. Do you think it's easier to change the course when that river is new or when it's millions of years old? So some of your habits might be a little bit more difficult to change. The ones that you've had all your life, the ones that you've gotten some secondary payoff, it's unhealthy, but you hold on to it because it gets you this other thing. Those might be a little harder to uproot. But when you get into the habit of not letting negative habits take root, you notice them, you go, okay, it's cool, it's happening. Let's just maybe divert this in another direction. And then you start forming positive habits where you do it intentionally and you make yourself do it over and over and over until it starts cutting its own groove. And then you start layering them on top of each other. And you get the compound effect of many positive habits. That's when you'll start to see huge improvement. Habits. Notice your habits. Eliminate the destructive or negative ones and replace them with positive ones. Law number 44. Recognize when you're losing control of yourself and stop. Just stop. Whenever you sense that you're losing your grip, you're losing control, just stop. Simply stop. Don't judge yourself. Don't start talking negatively to yourself. Don't get down on yourself. Don't victimize yourself. Don't do any of that stuff. Just stop. Give yourself a little space. Reflect when you're losing control. Fascinating experience being human. You start losing control of yourself and you realize it. First thing that comes up is, I got to take control back. And if that gets too strong, then you're still losing control of yourself, because the overwhelming feeling of wanting to grab the wheel and swing it over here and getting frantic. When you start losing control, just stop. Put some space. If it's in the presence of other people, stop and maybe go spend some time alone and just chill out. You might try some kind of a, meditation or breathing, or just trying to get all the thoughts out of your mind. Put some space in your life. Go do something that distracts you, like going for a walk, unplugging, getting some exercise. Just stop. Number 45, make your territory yours. Wait, if it's your territory, isn't it already yours? We come with this amazing set of wiring inside of us as kind of highly developed primates. And one of our great features that we come stocked from the factory with is this idea of being territorial. What does it mean to be territorial? It means that you have a certain physical space that you consider to be your area, and you don't like others to intrude on it. And if they do, you're going to take action to defend your territory. In modern times, our features that we come wired with, this territorial nature, it doesn't get a chance to express itself in a healthy way. And a lot of times we don't learn how that feature works, so we use it in negative or destructive ways. I think it's positive. There's a way to use it in a positive way. So let's say that, you've got an apartment. Instead of thinking, I just got another apartment and there are a bunch of other people that live in this apartment building and I don't really own this and whatever. Get that out of your mind and say, okay, this is my territory. How can I put my mark on my territory? How can I make it uniquely mine? How can I make it a place that whenever I'm out and I get busy and things start happening to me and I'm getting, pressure and anxiety coming from the outside toward me, and I would like to go retreat and stop and reflect, that I want to go there. It's like my home base. And as soon as I walk through the door, I just feel like the rejuvenation process has started because I love it. How could you do that? If someone comes to your place and starts doing anything that's unacceptable to you, try this. Say, you know what, stop for a sec. I think it would be better if you go right now. And they might say, what? What are you talking about? You say, you know what, I don't like it when that kind of thing happens inside of my space. Why don't you go right now? We'll pick this up another time. One of the most empowering things I think you can do, especially when it comes to women in dating. Make your territory yours. Law number 46. Lead. Lead. Having spent some years trying to figure out this thing called business and studying a lot of the kind of business success literature, someone in an earlier program used the metaphor of you can't learn to surf by reading books about it. You can spend 20 years reading books about surfing, and the first time you go out there and get on that board, you are going to fall off that sucker. That's all there is to it. Well, leading is similar. And what's interesting about leading is that there are many counterintuitive aspects of it. A lot of younger people and less experienced that I meet that want to become leaders, they think that the definition of leadership is to control other people and to get them to stop screwing up and get them on the right track, kind of wrangle that group together, kind of fix all that bad stuff they're doing. And what I've found is that effective leadership is more about finding people that have high potential, that want to achieve, and then helping them achieve, being a support for them. Wow, that's interesting. So in order to lead effectively, I think you need to study it a little bit. Even if you don't desire to become a political leader or a business leader or any of that kind of thing, maybe your calling in life is to become an artist, or maybe you would like to be, a charity worker that just donates yourself and all of your time to helping other people individually. You're not interested in leading business. I think it's still important to study it and learn how to do it so that when the situation calls, you can pull this skill up and use it. In life, a lot of things come up where there's a crisis, or all of a sudden there's a lot of ambiguity. And these things don't happen, all day, every day, for the most part. But when those times happen, you'll notice that everybody stops what they're doing and they start looking around and freaking out. And at some level, they're looking around to see who's going to grab the ball and who's going to take control of the situation and lead them to safety. You watch when there are great crises around the world. When things happen and, there are cameras on the scene. And what often happens is it's total chaos, and it's a lot of people freaking out, looking around, saying, somebody should get control here. Somebody's got to lead me out of this thing. They're all looking for leadership. Well, if you develop the skill yourself, you can be that person in your own life and for others. And I've also found that leaders naturally attract women. And women seek out men who are leaders to be with. The guys that I know that consistently attract the highest quality women and have functional, healthy, long-term, fulfilling relationships with them, they're the leaders. Lead and learn to lead. Learn how it works. So I've just shared a bunch of different concepts with you. These are all essentially, in one way or another, more or less inner game concepts and some inner game ideas that extend to the outer world. Where did I get these concepts? Well, from all over. I think of it as a sampling of a lot of different ideas that I teach in a lot of my programs. And if you're interested in developing some of these ideas and developing them specifically as they apply to being more successful at attracting women and having good, healthy, functional relationships and about keeping up attraction, sexual tension, and that really enjoyable dynamic, I recommend that you check out some of my other programs that are designed to help you with your kind of inner game. My Dating Tips newsletter, my Double Your Dating ebook, my ebook Attraction Isn't a Choice, my Advanced Dating Techniques program, my Sexual Communication program. All of these programs will teach you a lot of different concepts, a lot of inner game, some of it how it translates into the outer game. I have 3 programs that I've designed that are specifically about the inner game. They really go deep into the inner game. One of them is called On Being a Man Who Naturally Attracts Women. One of them is called Deep Inner Game, and the other one is called Mastery. And these go way into the the deep parts of your mind, all the way from your hard wiring up to your unconscious, and they help you go through and deal with a lot of your issues. And a lot of these concepts that I've talked about, I've given you like a little 2-minute commercial for the idea, and in some of these other programs that I've just described, I go into depth. Okay, I go more breadth, more depth. And I recommend that you check them out if you're attracted to these concepts, and if you'd like to learn how to apply them specifically to being more successful with women in dating. So now let's talk technique. Let's talk about a couple of techniques and how to lay them over some of these concepts and paradigm changers and principles. Number 47, stop idealizing women when you're interacting with them. As you can tell, this is a combination inner-outer game technique. And what do I mean by this? Well, a very common mistake that men make when interacting with women is they sit there and they look across the table at this beautiful, let's say sexually attractive woman, and they put on a pair of glasses called, I will endure anything she says, I'll tolerate any second-class behavior, I'll overlook any flaw if it means I can get one step closer to having sex with her. And that's the game they play. And so what I'd like you to do is when you're sitting down and interacting or you're talking to a woman that you feel very attracted to, I want you to say, stop idealizing her. Stop idealizing her. Stop putting a halo around her head and stop making her into the perfect image of the perfect woman who has no flaws. Why? Because if you idealize her and you fail to recognize all of the clues and hints about who she really is, and you allow those long-term kind of love emotions to come up and you get attached to her, then you're really going to be in a bitch of a situation. Now you're going to be all tied up and be in love with someone that is flawed and you can't see it and you missed it and you lied to yourself. Okay? So, I mean this in the bigger sense, but specifically when you are interacting with a woman, I want you to keep bringing this up. Stop idealizing her. Stop idealizing. When you meet a woman that seems perfect, have the sign pop up in your mind. Hear David D. shouting, "Stop idealizing. Alert. Warning. Stop idealizing." Number 48, stop idealizing relationships. Next time you meet a woman that you really like, and since you didn't listen to the last one and you idealized her a little too much, when you have the feeling of, I would like to have a relationship with this woman, when you start having thoughts like, I wonder where she is right now and I hope she's not with some other guy, that's one of the little signs that you might want to have a relationship with her. Have this one come up. Stop idealizing relationships. And a sign that you might be flooded with emotional chemicals that are blurring your vision. Okay, it's like beer goggles for relationships. One of those signs is that you're thinking relationship. Have this pop up. And know that you're probably making a picture in your mind of an idealized, idyllic relationship that's going to solve all your problems. If you ever get that feeling, wow, if I could just get this girl in my life, everything else would be solved, pick something up and hit yourself in the head with it. Say, yeah, it's not going to happen. Hey, the relationship is not going to be ideal. It's not going to fix everything for me. I live in the real world. Number 49. Let her problems be her problems. This has to do with building healthy personal boundaries. It has to do with allowing her to mature, you being mature. It has to do with not building dysfunctional emotionally dependent, enabling relationships. It's a simple technique. On your path to finding a woman that you'd like to have a relationship with, you're probably going to meet and date a lot of women. And they're going to be on the spectrum. On this end of the spectrum is attractive, emotionally healthy, mature, intelligent. And on this end of the spectrum is going to be the chick in The Exorcist. And when you run into the Linda Blairs of the world and the head spins around in front of you, or the drama comes up, instead of trying to fix it and jumping right in there and trying to rescue her, or saying, oh, let me help out, or feeling like it's your problem because it's her problem, stop and say, that's her problem in her life. She's created that. I'm going to let her handle that. That's part of her maturing process. I've had relationships in my past that I've done a lot of damage to the relationship and the person and their life by trying to fix their problems for them and carrying my righteous flag of, if I can just fix and solve all your problems, then your life will be great, and then we'll have a great relationship and everything will be perfect. What I was really doing is robbing the woman that I cared about very much of the opportunity to mature and become a more developed, independent person. Number 50. Don't try to control her by supporting her or giving her money. Whenever I hear about a guy doing a lot of nice stuff for women, like buying her a lot of gifts or taking her places or handing her cash money, anytime there's the transfer of the cash money, that's like the certain signal right there that, where there's smoke, there's fire. And that's like the amount of smoke you see when there's like 1,000 acres on fire. And you're like, whoa, why can't I see the sun anymore? And what does a guy think when he's giving a woman all these gifts or supporting her, or paying all her bills or all that kind of stuff? What's he thinking? I'm helping her, taking care of her, making her life better. And what does it almost inevitably lead to? Her doing something that he doesn't like, and then him starting to build resentment. He's like, I'm paying her bills, and now she's doing this. Or I gave her money, and now she wants more. And then it turns into this cycle where he goes, well, maybe I should give her some more, and that'll solve the problem. And what it really comes down to, I think, on an unconscious level, is that the man, because he doesn't feel any power and control over his own life, is trying to use money or other types of gifts or dedication of his time. He's trying to use it to control her in the relationship. So don't try to control her by supporting her or giving her money. If you find yourself trying to control a woman, it means that you've got something that you need to fix. 51. Stop trying to impress women. What are all the ways that men try to impress women? What do? We try to show off. We try to talk a big game. We try to spend more money than we have to on things. We try to give her compliments that we think will really dazzle her. We try to say unique and original things. Try to sound intelligent. When we're communicating with her, we think, oh, let me just sit here and try to figure out what she's thinking and listen to what she's saying so I can say the perfect thing in response. The irony is that these things don't impress women at all. They do the opposite of making an impression, which is kind of fading into the background. instead of being that delicious-looking corn dog, you become just another sausage in the bucket. I don't know if that worked, that metaphor, but I think you get what I'm saying, right? 52. As you learn, pay careful attention to every detail of your personal hygiene, dress, style, posture, voice tone, etc., until it has reached the level of unconscious competence. One of the main complaints that women have about men is that they pay no attention to the details. Now, it's actually a blessing in disguise, because us guys, being so unaware of the incredible effect that it's having and the billboard that it's putting on us that we're walking around with, it's a blessing to women because they can just look at you and go, not in a million years. Not if I was the last woman on earth and you were the last guy on earth and I was desperate. And what happens is when you start paying attention to all the details and you go to the library and you buy, an Emily Post book on etiquette and you read through the whole thing and you realize that 70% of the stuff in there you never encounter in your life and you're like, oh, I was wasting my time. But 30% of it is good stuff. And you learn how to, oh, wow, I've never really looked in the mirror at my ear and found those 7 large ass hairs growing out of every part. Whoa, girls notice that? You bet your ass they do. Why would a girl be upset if I have 3 4-week-old McDonald's bags on the floor of my car when she gets into it? Well, it's not. We all got to eat, don't we? Remember, women don't take things at face value. They're a lot smarter than that. They know that face value stuff can be faked. So they're always asking, what does that mean? And what do these 2 things in combination mean? And I know that that's what you said, but what did you really mean by it? And when you start paying attention to all the details, what happens is you realize that there are traits that you're projecting through your appearance and your dress, your hygiene. And hopefully, by making it painful enough as you're dealing with all these details, you'll get it and you'll change the inside. It'll manifest itself through the details in your life. And then it'll become an unconscious competence where you start to respect yourself so much that you take care of all the details, women notice them, and they want to be around you. Number 53. Eliminate every nervous tic, gesture, facial expression, and unconscious response to challenges from women. Have you ever noticed that it's not all that easy to maintain first eye contact with a woman that you find highly attractive? Who's ever noticed that? Isn't that weird? What's going on? You're hanging out, minding your own business and sitting in Starbucks or whatever, and all of a sudden you look up and you see the hottest woman you've ever seen in your life, and she's looking right at you. And instead of smiling and saying, you are definitely a person, come over here right now. You, I need to talk to you. Been looking for you for a while. Instead of just calmly and casually doing that, what do? Did she see me looking at her? And then you kind of look up, and if she's looking again, now you're just hosed. Because then you go, oh God, she did see me looking. Oh wait, I should have maintained eye contact the first. Oh, damn. Oh no. Oh no. So that's an example of a whole cluster of things that us guys do to communicate to women that we're insecure. You got to eliminate that stuff. You got to notice it. You might ask female friends, hey, do I do anything weird that I'm not conscious of? We all have them. Figure out what they are, eliminate them, get rid of them. 54. Make yourself into the most interesting person a woman has ever met. Make yourself into the most interesting person a woman has ever met. We were so fortunate to be born male. So fortunate. There are so many years of our life that we can increase our attractiveness and attract any kind of woman that we want. Women have a much harder time. They really do. You know, the basic formula is women use signs of fertility to attract high-status males, and males use high status to attract fertile females. Well, the whole fertility play only lasts so long, whereas the status play, you can keep increasing that forever. As a man, you can become more and more interesting and more attractive without focusing so much on your looks. So how can you become the most interesting person a woman has ever met? Well, one of the things you can do is look into the outside world and say, what are the most interesting things out there? And I don't mean interesting by what you find interesting. I mean interesting on average. What attracts the masses? What do the masses flock to? So you can look at, let's say, what's the best-selling magazine for women? So look that up, get yourself a copy, flip it open and go, okay, why are women attracted to this? Like a drug. Why are they paying money to get this stuff? What's in there? Great idea is to read romance novels. Read a few of them. There's a great book called Dangerous Men, Adventurous Women that was written by romance novel authors that talk about the appeal of the romance novel and how they write their stories and all the psychology involved. It's a fascinating read because women read romance novels, and a lot of them. Okay, so what's naturally interesting? What attracts people like a magnet? And then go learn about how to talk about that stuff. Get into discussions about it. Bring it up. Learn how to tell stories. Make yourself interesting. When you go out into the world and you think, okay, let me find the topics and the movies and the TV shows and the magazines, and the websites that are just on fire, people can't stop talking about. Let's keep track of those for a while. And then make a note of the common elements, and then incorporate some of that stuff into my personality. It's not that hard. Pay off big time.